And shortly after inauguration of the American Corner, Mr. Blinken made a connection with Nigeria's culture at the Nike Art Gallery, a landmark cultural center in Lekki. He interacted with three of Nigeria's iconic artists, Professor Bruce Onobrakpeya, Mr. Jimoh Buraimo, and Nike Davis Okunjaye, each of whom participated in U.S. government-sponsored exchange programs in the 70s. As part of his tour, four-nation tour, Mr. Blinken will leave Nigeria later today en route to Angola, which is his last stop as the U.S. strengthens ties with Africa. For more on this development, President and founder of Jago Solutions International, Bayo Adedosu, joins me from Toronto in Canada. Also on the program, global labor and social change advocate Tunde Doherty joins me from Cambridge in London. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the program. Let me begin with you, Mr. Adedosu. Well, this is Mr. Blinken's third visit to Nigeria and his first in the administration of President Bola Tinubu. How significant would you say this is?
Thank you very much for bringing me. The visit is very, very significant. One thing I want Nigerians to know at this point in time is that the world actually needs Nigeria more than Nigeria actually needs them. The wind of change blowing across in Nigeria has made the Nigerian people and the Nigerian government sought after. It's so ironical that Mr. Blinken came to Nigeria in the wake of their elections that is due for later this year. And as such, there is a need for the Biden administration to actually re-emphasize and rebuild its international relations with foreign countries, with foreign partners. For far too long, the American government tried to look away, they tried to shift their attention in different ways from Nigeria. But with the coming of the Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration, a lot of things have changed. The perception in the international community has changed so much that Nigeria is actually doing so well. We are having reports of our stock doing so well in the international market. And the kind of reforms that we have done, and that this government has put in place, has actually made it to be so favorable to foreign partnerships. And in the light of that, Nigeria has played significant roles within Africa and within West Africa sub-region, maintaining the peace. And that is something that no country can take for granted. We have the population, we have the reach, we have the people, we have the wherewithal. And in the light of that, even in concerning the Gaza crisis, Nigeria was one of the countries that came out asking for a ceasefire. Whereas we know the roles played by America and its allies. So now that it's actually the Biden administration that needs, more than the American government itself, that is trying to shift the focus, that is trying to build relationship, whereas the neglect has been there. And I don't want Nigerians to think that this visit in itself is the end of everything.
All right.
This is just the beginning of new opportunities, of new partnership, of new possibilities with the two countries.
All right, let's bring in Mr. Doherty here. Mr. Adedosu, I'll return to you shortly, but let's quickly bring in Mr. Doherty. You have heard Mr. Adedosu mention that the world needs Nigeria more than Nigeria needs them. Do you agree with him? And do you think that these investments we have been receiving are a win-win situation for us?
Thank you very much for having me. Once again, I appreciate everything that my colleague has said about in the beginning of this program, which is actually the fact of the matter that the world needs Nigeria more than Nigeria will need them now. And looking at the following the president's visits to the United Nations in New York in September, and following a series of virtual meetings that have happened between Nigeria and the United States of America, it is important for the U.S. to come to Nigeria and see things themselves, so that they see that the president has promised in his agenda, in his 4D foreign policy agenda of democracy, development, demography, and diaspora. is actually doing his bit to make sure that those policies are very well entrenched within the economy. And so therefore, Nigeria being the largest economy in Africa, largest democracy in Africa, and largest population of Black in Africa, is a place to behold for any investment, for any relationship, both bilateral and multilateral, within the African continent. So therefore, the visit is one to actualize and see that the president, as promised, is putting all things, all risk valves in check in terms of the insecurity that we're talking about in Nigeria. Before, we see how the president is combating it. We see the development in various sectors of the economy, and we see how the president is facing corruption headlong, even in his administration. So therefore, it is good that the Foreign Secretary Blinken was in Nigeria to follow up on the resources that Nigeria has, on the economy and the partnership that America shares with Nigeria. If you look at the Joe Biden administration, you find out that Nigerians are very well placed within that administration. That's to tell you that America, they are not joking with Nigerians, and that means that the raw talents that we are talking about, both human and raw material resources, are entrenched in Nigeria, and they need to follow on in terms of developing both economies, both Nigerian economy and even American economy, to encourage and make sure that the foreign direct investment we are talking about is seamless to Nigeria, and therefore prosperity is guaranteed.
America not joking with Nigerians is one thing you said. And of course, America has announced a $45 million aid, and that's to be funding rather in the form of security now, to fund security that's in the West African region. And there are now questions about, how effective these aids that have been coming in have actually been, because in Africa, in recent time, we have noticed a series of coups in some countries, and it's quite worrisome, don't you think, Mr. Doherty?
Well, it's worrisome, but that means that we need to shape it up in Africa. We need to be sincere in governance, and therefore, even the Western world and the colonies know that well. It comes to a time where probably the people are just like looking at controlling their resources, controlling their economy. But it is not by the barrier of gun or chasing out a democracy. Rather, it should be of true democracy, entrenched by the people, loved by the people, and liked by the people. If you look at these African countries that at coups in the recent time, you see that some of them are very loaded in resources. When you talk about raw material resources in terms of the ones that are very important in the production and in the excelling of technology. So therefore, all we have to do, because we have our president as the chairman of ECOWAS, and I know definitely he has in the last month that uses skillful resources to make sure that he stem down all those obnoxious actions that are causing coup, that is trying to endanger democracy in Africa. And I believe all we need to do is, like America has given, is supporting the African through Nigerian with defense and security funding, which is very necessary in this era to be able to stem down coups, to be able to stem down insecurity within Africa, Nigeria, and Africans within the sub-regions. And I think it's a good thing, the right direction to do to stabilize Africa, make sure that democracy thrives.
And then talking about U.S. as a nation, there's that school of thought who actually think that regarding the war between Israel and Gaza now and Hamas, that, U.S. stance, I mean, some are just really questioning their stance about the fact that they continue to support Israel despite what they have termed atrocities being committed in the Gaza Strip. Mr. Adedosu, I wonder what you think about that, because here is the U.S., talking about peace across the world, but then they are being questioned in some quarters about their possible roles in Israel.
Thank you very much. I'm glad that we're actually talking about the Israel-Hamas conflict. I had a discussion with some group of people sometime last year where I said Hamas should not be made to represent the people of the Palestine. Okay? just as in Nigeria, IPOB cannot be made to represent the people of the Southeast as a whole. We must be able to separate these two. Just like the Niger represent the people of the South-South. To a large extent, America has been very unfair and full of double-speak and double standards when it comes to the issue of Israel, Palestine crisis. Unfortunately, no people are buying these ideas simply because we are trying to play a religious card. Unfortunately, Israel is not a Christian state, as some people are trying to perceive. America is not supporting Israel on the basis of fairness. America is not supporting Israel on the basis of global peace. American government, as it were under Biden, is supporting Israel on the basis of relations, on the basis of business, okay? So it is rather ironic that the same America is talking about global peace when every effort to bring about peace in the Middle East has been thwarted by the same American government. Unfortunately, as much as I don't like Donald Trump, I can't stand him. That being said, there was no conflict for 4 years right there. It's not as if issues that could lead to conflict were not there. America uses conflict as a means of business. And right now, both the Democrats and Republicans doing business with both sides. Every effort to have
all right, it's apparent there's some connection issue with
America.
Okay, there's some connection issues there with Mr. Adido, so we'll try to reconnect with him. But I was going to mention also that in a joint press conference with Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs on Tuesday, the minister actually mentioned that, talking about commonalities, Nigeria and the U.S. agree that the solution to the crisis there is actually a two-state solution. But so in the days ahead, perhaps we'll just get to hear more from these countries about, how peace can be restored in that troubled region. But then, gentlemen, let's talk about another part, of Mr. Blinken's visit to Nigeria, and that is about the issue of climate change. He has mentioned that the U.S. would definitely be interested in, supporting Nigeria's drive, in tackling the challenges that come with climate change. So what aspect do you think that Nigeria as a nation should be bargaining for in relation to climate change challenges that we experience? Mr. Doherty now.
Yeah, thank you very much. If we go down the policy of Bola Ahmed Tinubu on his foreign policy, talks about demography, and we all know the damage that erosion has caused to us in Nigeria. And I believe that supporting Nigeria on climate change means that a lot of funding need to go into controlling erosions, and that means that a lot of probably mopping up should be done. A lot of environmental solutions need to be put in place and checked, especially in the areas where we have high density of water flow, and a lot of channels need to be recreated in Nigeria. And this is going to be huge in terms of environmental support for us to control erosion, which is really affecting the economy, the agri sector, and all what have you, because we cannot quantify the damages the erosion has caused to farmers in the last 2-3 years in Nigeria. So therefore, we needed that support to help our agri to grow. And Nigeria is a very rich agricultural nation, and export from agri alone too is something that will boost the economy that we're talking about. So therefore, we needed that support in controlling, in helping our environment from further degradation and erosion. And also, we need to reforest, do a kind of afforestation project, because majority of our forests have been damaged, and a lot of protected trees have been cut off. So we need to spend money on afforestation and planting of trees. And if all of these supports are there, why not? At least we will get to that global will be within the global range of control, and our economy will be at best. And also, we see that Blinken talked about the helping the blue economy. Blue economy is one thing again that will grow the economy, and at the same time controls flooding and erosion. So a lot needs to be expended on our blue economy. And, we are very rich. By the time that economy is boosted, we know what resources we have under our rivers, waters, and seas. So definitely, any support in this contest is good for Nigeria, and I believe that that's in the right direction, and it follows the Renew Hope agenda of Mr. President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
All right. And earlier, Mr. Blinken actually made a stop at the Nikkei Art Gallery. Let's just quickly see some of the things that transpired there and what Nikkei Davis Okundai had to say.
Without the good governor, there will be and the good president. That is why I was happy that during their own time, the Secretary of the State come to Nigeria, which means our government is good. And today, we always remain green. This is my first time for any head of state from U.S. to come and visit the gallery. In Abuja, we have 4 heads of state, which is President of South Korea has visited, the China has visited, but the first time in Lagos. I'm so happy and privileged that I thank the Lagos State as well.
So art, culture, and tourism. Mr. Adedosu, how can we work with the U.S. to boost our potential in this sector?
One of the first things I would actually like to emphasize when we are talking about partnership and collaborations, Nigeria, under the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has made it clear that we are not beggars. Under the Bola Ahmed Tinubu government, he has made it clear that Nigeria should not be seen, or African countries should not be seen as beggars, rather should be seen as equal partners. And that being said, the international community actually needs to respect Nigeria, and little value is accorded to Nigerian craft. Today, we have many Nigerians who are doing very well. It should be more of partnership rather than of taking advantage of the potential. Way that we can actually explore possibilities and opportunities, not in a case where they want to give handouts to Nigeria. They want
Mr. Adedosu,
handouts.
If you could probably reconnect, I think it would be good because we're finding it difficult to hear you. So I'll just take that question to...
I was having interference.
Okay, so could you just quickly land on your thoughts then?
Okay. Potential is to be tactile, but potentials can only for each other's parts.
Okay, Ms. Hadida, so I really want to appreciate you for joining in the program today. It's been a great talking to you. Bayo Adedosu is president and founder, Jago Solutions International. Thanks for joining us all the way from Toronto in Canada. Thanks a lot. And as we wrap up with you, Mr. Doherty, I'm wondering what you think we can pick, from the United States, because we're talking about us being partners, and in this case about our electoral process. What can we pick from the fact that those in the diaspora should be able to cast their ballot, should be able to also say who they would like to lead them in the country?
Thank you very much. That's a very great question, and I'm very happy that this question come to the fore. Like we had been fighting for diaspora voting long before now. And it's unfortunate that the last National Assembly did not pass that bill. But we are going to be intensify efforts on that bill to be passed so that we can exercise our civic duty as Nigerian in the diaspora. I believe there's nothing too special about Nigerians in the diaspora voting because, one, there's no Nigerian that is in the diaspora that is not in a data, whether the data from the Nigeria Immigration Service or the data or portal of the resident country. So therefore, what we do just to be able to be fair that our INEC should be able to tap on these available data of Nigerian in every part of the world and accumulate this data and turn this data to an electoral register for diaspora. Right. It's not a rocket science for Nigerians to be voting, to be casting their ballot. And but definitely we will see that even after the last election, the diaspora play a very huge role in every aspect of that election. And we know that when we are given this opportunity, we will beautify the electoral system in Nigeria, and we will ensure that the very great person that Nigeria needs becomes the president. And,
absolutely, absolutely, Mr. Doherty. I'm afraid that's the much we can take, and you've actually been able to hit the nail on the head. Global labor and social change advocate Tunde Doherty, thank you for talking to us on the program.
My pleasure anytime. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.